For all hearts and minds, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here once more. Dear Lord, let us work for your agenda, for the city, for the community, as well as for the nation and the world. Dear Lord, as we're going through a situation that needs to be addressed, we pray for peace over our city, that we can move forward, make the right decisions, not be about ourselves, but about the people that we represent. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I guess we'll have roll call.
Mayor Allen. Mayor Pro Tem Broadway.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Councilmember Pollack.
Present.
Councilmember Matthews. Present. Councilmember Ham.
Here.
Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock Councilmember Aycock, are you on the phone? Councilmember Aycock, can you hear me? Councilmember Aycock has been exposed to the corona, so he is self-quarantining himself. And he didn't want to come here and get us sick, but he's supposed to be on the,
We'll see if we can get him
okay,
over.
so can you get him? Okay. All right, so you want to turn it over to you, Catherine? How you want to do this?
Yes, sir. If I could just take
Sure.
the
Go ahead.
little bit of an overview. So thank you, Mayor and council members, for your valuable time to go through the discussion on FY 2021 annual operating budget in preparation for the city council meeting on Monday. We'll also have the public hearing. Our finance director has put together some slides for you to help us walk through the issues. So I'll let her get started if that's okay with you all.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon.
Yes, no.
You've got a copy of this book on your table in front of you. All right, so overview. At last Monday's meeting, we presented the manager's recommended budget of $64.3 million. It was a balanced budget. It showed a reduction of about 2% from the prior FY adopted for the general fund. And overall, it is an increase of $1.2 million over the prior year adopted, but due to some water and sewer fee increases. So we're here today to talk through, now that the council has had a chance to go through the adopted or the budget book and look through any items. And so we're going to talk a little bit about just big areas. The first area that we're going to start with is going to be revenues. We proposed an increase for a $1 recycling surcharge per month. There are some proposed planning rate fee adjustments, and I just want to make clear that there was no change to the property tax rate. It is to remain unchanged at 65 cents per hundred. We proposed a 25% water and sewer rate increase, and there were no other proposed increases or changes to any fees in any of the other operating funds. So I just wanted to kind of go through, because obviously if the changes and the increases we're talking about are not acceptable to the council, then we have to figure out where we're going to cut the budget and how we're going to readjust. So we have the proposed $1 recycling surcharge, and we just wanted to get your feedback as to whether this is acceptable, unacceptable, what your thoughts are on that.
All right, well, I guess we might as well address this slide first. Does anybody have any comments, thoughts?
I have no problem with the $1 recycling, but I've got some problems with the 25%.
Okay. And in this book, there's also several slides that Jennifer put together on the proposed planning fees. It's just some updates to the fees. You can look through those. There's nothing wildly outrageous in those. She, I think, is around that she can discuss any of those if you have any questions about them. I thought we probably really just need to tackle the water and sewer rate increases unless you have any other issues with those.
Is everybody okay with the $1 recycling surcharge?
I am.
Okay. All right, so I assume everybody's okay with that. Then we go to the water and sewer.
Yep.
I will say this, I know personally, I've heard from a lot of older people that say that's too much money to go up at one time for them. And and they'd like to see it more like 15%. I don't know how the rest of the council thinks, and I know you think, and I know we should do 25%. I understand that. But that is also, this is a pretty hard time right now. And so, I don't know, what's everybody else think? I mean, my thoughts are maybe we do 15% this year, 15% next year or something. I know, we want to see how we do this year.
To piggyback on what he said, a lot of people on the fixed income now and are offsetting their utilities. I know for the light company, Progress, they're allowing people to offset their payments, which a lot of people aren't making any payments at all, and what it's going to do is going to hit them at one time. So I think the same thing with this 25% increase, hit it one time. If we could phase it into maybe 15 or whatever the maximum we could do right now, under the 25, and then maybe next year. I mean, it has to be addressed. I mean, but all at one time, I think if we can phase it or put it in tiers, that would be my recommendation.
And I agree with the same thing.
All right, so does somebody want to make a motion? Well, go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
Could I get feedback from our Public Works and Public Utilities Director on the impacts of a 15% versus 25 and what they're going to have to do and the potential impacts on your...
I mean, I personally don't think it matters. I think we're going to do what we got to do. I mean,
Well, I think you ought to know what your fund balance is going to look like.
Well, I mean, our fund balance will be affected by a lot of other things too.
Well, there's utility and general fund balance, so different.
If you'd like to do that, that'd be fine.
Okay. Rick and Mike, can you talk, basically, I've asked you to look at this, a 15%, and what impacts will that be to you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So over the last week, I've kind of come through my budget again. One of the major impacts and how it's going to affect me, I have a letter in front of me from from Easton. In 2018, our L-Pro radios for our telemetry system were deemed obsolete. They stopped manufacturing them. That's for our whole telemetry system. We have about 40 locations. We've tried to phase the replacement of this in over the last couple of years. The telemetry system allows us to remotely monitor our elevated tanks, our pump stations. If I have to cut this and one of our stations were to fail, I have to send an operator out to that station every single day for 365 days until that telemetry system is replaced. Now, you can't just go buy another radio off of the shelf because the radios have to be able to communicate with each other. So the telemetry system would be a major impact to us.
Well, how
In
much
addition-
money
How much money is that, Mike?
I have 200,000 budgeted on the wastewater treatment plant budget and 100,000 in the water treatment plant budget.
Okay, so the 15% versus 25% is how much of a difference?
It's approximately 700,000 between the finance department, public works, and public utilities department that we need to collectively cut. And that's in addition to, I know for my department, I was already asked to cut $4.1 or $4.2 million in capital improvement projects. That includes a 20-year-old UV system, bar screen from the 117 pump station that's from the 1960s, a 25-year-old generator at our Westbrook pump station, another bar screen at our Little Cherry pump station from the 1970s. So we're not, we have to be able to, when this stuff fails in the year, we need to replace it, and we also need to have the money available in our fund balance to do so.
I recall that work that you just mentioned that has already been cut at a 25% level is about $2 million of work.
Well, it's over $4 million. Yeah, it's over $4 million. I had to cut $4 million from the budget. And in talking with Santec, who is doing the utility rate study, there's $6 million in capital improvements in the CIP plan for next year. So that $4 million now turns into $10.2 million next year. So the proposal of a 15% rate increase next year, you're looking at, 20%, 30%,
Okay,
next year, because we can't just keep looking away from these replacements.
To fund everything, they recommended a 50% increase, not a 25. We ended up having to cut, or Mike did, primarily 25% out of the capital improvements already, just to reduce it down to a 25% rate increase. So now we're talking about cutting that down to 15%.
and so the impacts of that 15% are the telemetry and what else?
Depending on how we can work it out between our three departments, it could potentially be the valve maintenance crew in a truck for the Public Works Department.
And that's the only thing I have left that wasn't already cut.
Yeah, I think Catherine has the warehouse technicians. It could also potentially include the loader for the compost facility. As I passed along in the city manager's weekly report last week, our oldest loader from 2005 was down for 7 days. And we operate all three loaders on a daily basis. So if we don't have a loader, we have to figure out another way how to operate. And I can't just necessarily borrow one from Rick and Public Works. When we're using that to move and transport biosolids, we would have to wash it as it would go back and forth. Plus, they need it for their operations. So we would look to rent one if the loader would go down throughout the year.
Tim, I think we're gonna be adding and taking away the whole way through here.
Okay.
So I think we just need to wait, and then y'all can put together whatever we end up dollar-wise, y'all can figure out how they think it affects. Because the other thing, you don't have to paint the water tower next year, you can wait a year. There's things we can do that we're just gonna have to talk about how we're gonna do it. But I think that we ought to just go through it, see what we're gonna cut, what we might wanna add, and then we'll have at least a dollar amount that y'all can work with. Does that make any sense?
Yes, sir.
Because right now, we're just speculating.
Okay.
Okay. So to speak to the 15%, where that would put us at is right now, we're at the 57, 59, it would be about $66, so we would still be under Greenville because the 7203 was at the 25%. So that, just to give you a little perspective on that. Okay. So positions, I thought we would talk a little bit about what positions the council wanted to move forward or not. I just wanted to update you. We had several positions. These are all related to the general fund that are recommended to be frozen for the entire year, so there's no funding in there. The positions still exist, the dollars do not. There were 9 positions in police, 1 in Parks and Rec, and 1 in downtown development. And that saved us about $437,000 in the general fund, so that's what helped us balance the budget. And I just wanted to make a point that by freezing the 9 out of the 121 positions in police, that gives him about 93% funding for his organization. Just FYI there for y'all.
Do you know where he is on hiring now?
So, on
On police. I mean, usually we're always 10 or 15 short. Do you have any idea where?
We froze him where he was.
Okay, where he was. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's a question I have, because I mentioned this in another previous council meeting. I know freezing from outside, but if we have in-house promotions on the floor, are they also considered frozen since they're in-house? I know we can't hire from outside. So I know B-Shift on the police department, I mean, they've had captains shortages and people doing double duty, and I think even a major position is on the floor for now. Are we gonna occupy those seats with what we have on the floor, or is that frozen also?
Yeah, that's not, these are all entry-level police
Entry-level coming in.
positions.
Okay.
So if we have 110 positions for police officers, and now we have 101 filled, we wouldn't fill those new entry-level positions that we
Gotcha.
try to hire.
Okay. Thank you.
So these are the new positions that were recommended in the budget. And, as we discussed at the meeting last week, the SCADA instrument technician, that one was going to come off anyway, so I went ahead and marked through it. And we just need to know if the council is supporting these positions, whether it's a yes or no to move forward on those, and the salary and benefits is there. We can do them one by one and go through them as you choose. So the first one was a senior fleet mechanic in the garage. That was, we had a part-time senior fleet mechanic, a heavy mechanic. So the incremental cost difference was not much more to go from the part-time, to the full-time position. And what I did was I cut his outside repairs account to basically offset the difference between the part-time money and the full-time money. I guess, is that okay, or?
They definitely needed a senior fleet mechanic. We've been asking for that for several years, so.
Everybody agree? Okay.
Is that okay? All right, and then the front desk receptionist, that is actually a part-time position with 3 part-time people, and we wanted to move that to a full-time position. So it is a little bit of an additional cost, but again, this is an entry-level position, so it's not a really high-paying position. It's maybe costing like an extra $12,000 to $14,000 more roughly a year to go full-time. So is that okay?
Basically budget neutral, right?
Basically, it's not costing much more, and then you get some good stability in that position as well, so.
Yeah,
Sir?
this is to the manager. I support the full-time person, by the way, but who is the designated backup person? Or who do we have as a backup person when this person's out sick or lunch or whatever?
Yeah, so they work for Catherine. Catherine has rotated some of her people into that position
Okay.
as required. So now there would be a
So you have
full-time person.
responsibility for it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
that's my
and if she needs to go, she'll rotate someone else down there.
Yes, sir.
Correct, Catherine?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. The assistant golf professional, I don't know if the manager wants to speak to that.
Yeah, so this is all offset with part-time work already. When we had the interviews for the new golf director, every one of them recommended an assistant so that you have some stability in that position when the golf director can't be there. You know, that place operates 7 days a week, and the pro can't be there all the time. It also gives them flexibility to go out and drum up business, if you will, with the local community. And depending on who they hire, this person would have some skills to also teach lessons. Mostly a managerial position there.
Everybody good with that?
I'm
I
not,
have another question, sorry.
I'm not,
So
because,
when this was originally, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you can go, sir.
When we discussed this before, this was supposedly be a budget neutral situation, getting rid of part-time, hiring a full-time. But what does this full-time assistant golf professional do to replace part-time people?
Well, they run the office there. They take the players when they come in, schedule their seat
You're talking about
times.
pro
help
shop
run the course. The
operations?
pro shop operations, yes.
So do we need a golf professional person? I mean, do we need an assistant golf professional level person to run the pro shop?
I think it provides advantages for also teaching the lessons and to be there. I think that'll increase your revenue, and it's basically offset with the assistant positions that are right now.
Well, is he
So-
teaching lessons or is he running the pro
Well,
shop?
the pro would be there running the pro shop when the assistant's teaching a lesson or vice versa. So, you know, the idea is to have some stability. We have had some issues there with part-time people. I think it's a good idea to have someone there that's a trusted full-time employee when the pro can't be there.
Again, I'm not arguing the full-time. I'm just saying, can we have a full-time pro shop manager, so to speak? Or does that have to be a
Well,
golf professional?
I think, what did we put in there? 49,000 was the
That's
max.
with benefits.
I think, someone of that capacity could be 37,000 as opposed to 49, or somewhere in between, depending on who you hire. It's up to y'all. The level of expertise that we hire. We'll interview for it and pick the right person for the job. And depending on the level of expertise, we would hire accordingly. If you want to limit that amount to, 45,000, you included benefits in that number?
That's got benefits,
That's got
yes.
benefits in it, so.
Okay.
So this is the
Daniel,
high
we also
range?
have had a situation, I don't know if it was, we had part-time people giving golf lessons too. We had several people that were out there doing that, and we basically had no control at all.
right?
That's
But you
what,
shouldn't let them do that, right?
Huh?
You
It
shouldn't have-
depends on who you're hiring part-time. If you're hiring a guy who's PGA qualified.
Oh,
I
or they
guess.
work for us. I thought you were just saying like you have people out there giving.
I don't know what Bill's referring to
now,
there.
what I'm talking about, we had people that were sometimes working, this was back when we had the carts, when people were voluntary rangers, people were volunteering
Ah.
in the carts, but they also were teaching lessons out there and
Okay.
talking to money outside the city totally.
Yes.
But I would think with your manager now, that wouldn't happen.
That's right, it wouldn't, but I'm just saying, that kind of answers David, you know.
Well, do we have the software operational out there? They pay operational software for the golf shop? In
Yes,
terms of,
they should be upgrading that software. I don't know if that's installed yet, but that's definitely something we've been looking at. Is Felicia, are you on the line, or Obi, that could talk to the software operating system? We can come back to that one, sir, if you want to talk about the operating system for. But really, we should be able to make golf reservations online and such.
We should,
And
yeah.
it should be dynamic for the supply, demand, if you will. You know, when it's busy, it costs more, and when it's less busy, it costs less. So those are the types of things they're looking into for your greens fees and such.
you know, and we've been talking about that for going on 3 years now.
Well, we have a new golf pro, so hopefully they'll get it done. And depending on who's there to manage it, whether it's an assistant pro or just a part-time person, that could make a difference too.
Doesn't matter if it's a pro or a part-time person, it's the software I'm talking about.
I think that that's more of a want than a need. I don't think that that position is something that we need to pay almost $50,000 for. When we have more needs, we cut a lot of areas. Nonprofits haven't gotten what they should be getting, and we're gonna hire someone where a golf course that's already failing.
My point was, this is offset by part-time labor, so you're gonna pay that anyway.
But our golf course is still failing, sir. We're
It's
not
what,
doing
sir?
good-
It's
we're not-
failing?
We're not doing good at all there.
Can everyone hear me?
Where,
This
where,
is
where do
Felicia.
you get that number
We've
from?
put tons of money in there. We have not recouped, and we will never recoup what we've invested in that golf course. Never.
Okay,
That money should be spent somewhere else, and I'm sure that we can find somewhere else to use that money at this moment.
but what I'm saying is it's not 49,000, you're gonna have to put 45 or 49,000 back in part-time labor to keep the course going. It takes more than just the pro sitting there at the head shed.
We have to figure some other things out. That's too much money.
Well, but you're spending it today, is what he's telling you.
I know, but we have to cut back then. I mean, not even 49. We need to find some other way. I'm tired of spending money in this
Well, the
golf
golf
course.
pro can't be there.
Only very few people are having the opportunity to even enjoy that location. We're going up on people's water bills, and we're gonna spend that money to continue this golf course. I think we should just sell the golf course.
Okay.
That's something that we can do.
Can't
Any other
say.
thoughts or comments?
I too find that amount is excessive. And like I said, we're trying to value wants versus needs. And if we're shaving budgets, I mean, I just think I think water is a necessity. And I would like to find a better option if we could shave anything that is not a necessity. I mean, even looking at police and fire, their budget's even being cut a little bit. I mean, these people on the front lines, and golf is recreation. I know it brings some money here, but overall, I mean, I want to find a way to defray the cost of the 25% impact on the water. That's my biggest situation. I mean, I don't want us to end up like Eureka, Flint, Michigan, or some other places that are affected by poor water qualities or equal distribution of water. I mean, we do need to handle that, and anything that we find or deem is not a necessity at this time, I think it's our responsibility to ensure that we do the best for all citizens that utilize all of the amenities of Goldsboro. That's my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Felicia, were you on the line? Did you have something to say?
Yes, I was on the line. There was a question regarding the assistant golf professional, and so I was on the line to see if there was something you all want me to answer.
It was pertaining to the program that was supposed to be implemented that we discussed at our retreat a few years ago. Councilman Ham, he wanted to know where we at on the computer software.
Okay, so that's kind of like a two-part question. So we do have a computer software system in place, but we found a better software to replace the software that we're currently using. It's more specific to golf. And so that's what I believe Tim was referring to earlier, that we're in the process of converting over to the golf-specific software. Because we do have a software system in place, but it's more general, it's more generic, and the software system we're looking to convert to is specific to golf.
What is the date to convert, Felicia?
I'm sorry, it was muffled. Can you ask that question again?
When do you convert the system?
Well, at this point in time, we're hoping to convert it, as soon as possible. I know we've been working with both finance and IT to make sure they're okay with everything on their end. And so once they give us the
I'll be on my cell phone, which I'm listening to council meeting. If you can get word to her, then you can speak to me to call my home phone, which is
Councilmember Aycock, we can hear you.
0453. I'm hearing the meeting well, but they just can't hear me.
Bless his heart.
What did he say?
Thank you.
Councilmember Aycock, we can hear you if you would like to speak.
Oh, I didn't know you could hear me now. No, I'm fine right now.
Okay, sir, thank you.
So, I think we gotta give some direction.
Some of what I was saying is, once we get the green light from both IT and finance, I know they had a couple of questions they were wanting some clarifications on, and we provided them, those responses. Once we get the green light from both of them, then we're ready to move forward with converting over to the new software.
And how much does that cost, Felicia? And is it in your budget, or you're pulling it from someplace else?
Yeah, it's pretty much going to be, I guess, as you all would say, revenue neutral, because with the new software that we're looking to convert to, it was a couple of ways where they were going to charge us a monthly fee similar to what we're already paying, or we could, I guess, pay them with tea time. And by that meaning, we set aside tea times for them, and whether or not they use that amount of tea times in a month, it does not roll over. So we were looking to go with the second option of bartering tea times with them.
Okay.
Well, I still don't think we got a clarity of time, because we've been talking about this for a couple of years now. I'm not.
Well, I know that Obi went to a recent conference a month or two ago, and they found the software that they want to go to, so.
Catherine, are y'all about on the green light?
I just had some, I don't want to get in the weeds with y'all, but there's some tax implications, and then there's some accounting internal control implications. And she and Obi asked me about it today, and I said, I'm just trying to get through budget right now. So that's what my issue is,
Okay.
so.
Well, I just don't want it to get tied up
Yeah.
with red tape. Anybody got anything?
Yeah, I didn't get how much the total amount was. I know she said it was comparable to what you had. What's the amount?
Okay, so as I was saying, as you're talking about as far as the fee for the software system, so it's a couple of options as far as like what we're wanting them to do. One option, I think we're going to average out to about either $250 to $300 a month, or like I said, swapping out tea times. So swapping out tea times would cost us, the city, no money, but I think that's what Catherine was saying. That's where she wanted to investigate a little bit more, just to make sure that there are no tax implications by us swapping out the tea time.
What does swapping out tea times mean?
So a tea time is worth $40. So if they reserve a tea time for $40, that's your cost. They may do 5 of those a month, making the $200 or $300 a month up. So instead of you giving them a check, you reserve tea times, and they'll probably choose the most expensive times that they have on their schedule.
It does have budgetary implications, and it will have to be budgeted because we have to recognize the revenue. So whether we barter it or whether we pay it out, it's not included in the budget. So at what point we do, we'll have to bring it back and just add it in at that point. But I've got to work out all those details. That's
All
where
right,
it
let's
gets.
go back to the professional, golf professional system. We're going yes or no on him. Councilman, I know you're in row, Councilman Williams, Councilman Ball.
I think we need it if it's budget neutral and we don't have, those three part-times.
Councilman Paul,
I don't think it's a necessity at this time.
you said.
I don't think so, not at this time.
Councilman Matthews?
I'm kind of stuck on need versus want. If it's not a need,
Council no? Okay, that's all right.
No,
You said no? Councilmember Aycock? Well, it really doesn't matter.
No.
We got four anyway. Okay, we got, so you're not gonna hire an assistant golf professional out of there. So the next one is a stormwater maintenance tech.
Rick, you want to talk to that position?
Rick's coming down the hall to speak.
Oh, must be really important.
If the mayor could move his microphone closer, I can't hardly hear him.
All right, everybody hear me okay now?
Yes.
Yeah.
The maintenance tech, we currently only have one maintenance tech in the stormwater division. Currently, when we go out to regrade or mow ditches, use a jet rod or a jet truck anywhere in the city, it's a two-man crew, and I'm sending two actual equipment operators out to do what an equipment operator and a maintenance tech could do.
Well, you got 10 people in the department, right?
That's correct.
So if that's the case, well, where's the 11th one gonna fit in? Because you're going back to odd man.
Well, we have sweeper operators. We have two on the sweepers. On a good day, we can have two sweepers running if we get a new sweeper. Two on a sweeper, two cutting ditches, two grading ditches, and then two on a jet rodder. And I've also got a supervisor assigned to that, out of those 10 as well, as a supervisor position.
Okay? All right. Anybody got any comments or thoughts?
Rick, I've got one question. Right now, you're sending two operators out, say on the jet truck.
Yes, sir. Right, well, when we're fully manned, we haven't been fully manned all year. We have about five to six
Okay.
people total, but.
So what will this guy, what new capabilities will this guy give you? Maybe I just don't understand it.
Well, I'm short, I only have one maintenance tech, so ideally, when you send the jet rodder out, you want to send an equipment operator out with the maintenance tech as the assistant. And right now, I'm sending two actual operators, so now I can't send that operator out to operate an excavator to regrade ditches or mow ditches,
Okay.
stuff like that. So I'm using a capability, a step up for a lower level job.
Okay, good. I understand.
And the other thing I'd just like to see you do or see us do is come up with a plan or list of action of what the stormwater people are going to do. What are you going to do this year? I mean, I know you're cleaning ditches. I know you're checking manholes. Are we doing any project?
We're doing preventative maintenance with jet rodders out there every week, rodding and breaking up blockages in the system. We have the mowing crew right now, that's hot and heavy because of the season that we're in. They're out, there's miles and miles of ditch to maintain. Then also the regrading, and if we get calls in requests to pipe subdivisions, we get those coming inadvertently as well. We're doing cave-ins. Every week we're repairing one or two cave-ins on the stormwater, so we have a crew that we actually pull our ditch crew to go do cave-ins. I mean, when we started this program.
You said cave-ins?
Cave-ins, stormwater cave-ins.
Okay.
So you're reacting more now than being
Well,
proactive on work?
we're doing the jet rodder and stuff, we do react. A lot of our work is to react to repair the infrastructure that breaks. That's priority, that takes priority when we have a failed infrastructure somewhere, or flooding we have to take care of. But we have been able to do preventative maintenance quite a bit since the program was implemented, with the jet rodder especially, the ditch maintenance too, and regrading ditches. Lots of ditches have been regraded that haven't been regraded in years.
I think what the mayor's asking for is a plan that you could present at some point.
Well, I think what he's saying is, and I thought they were here to implement stormwater projects, new, the new piping, new this, but I think you're saying
No.
y'all are more of a maintenance than you are.
Eventually, once we can get the maintenance down, but it's going to take more manning. You just can't send 2 or 3 people out to re-pipe. That's a whole crew. You need a designated crew to do that. We're nowhere
How
near,
many people you think is a crew?
to do something like that, probably 5, to go out and lay.
Check and see what you thought.
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. Anybody got any concerns one way or the other?
I think he's gotta have that.
All right, everybody good with him having it, getting that person? Antonio?
I'm okay.
Why don't you stay for
Randy?
the warehouse?
Okay, all right. All right, so next we will go down to warehouse and purchasing manager. Before we start on that, I'm just gonna tell y'all my opinion, and David and I have talked about this for probably at least 3 years. I don't even know how long we talked about it. But today, if you go in our warehouse, my guess is y'all don't even know what's in there. You have an idea, but you don't have nor do you know what the value is.
99, 95%, correct me if I'm wrong, we know what we have. We've got an inventory.
Existence isn't a problem. It's the dollar that's the problem. That's where the issue is.
There's some items that we've had in the inventory for quite a while that we can't get a current value, and I don't know how many pieces they are. It's not as many as I think you believe, but.
Well, what I'd like to see us do, and we've talked to Catherine multiple times about this as well, we need a purchasing manager for the city of Goldsboro, as much as we need one for your warehouse. And so I would like to see, this is just my opinion, the council may or may not agree, I'd like to see the purchasing manager work for Catherine or the finance department, was where I think they should be. But I think they should look after buying tires, buying auto parts, buying chemicals, whatever it is that we buy. We probably, we're spending, $15 million a year on stuff. So if you just save 5%, that'd be huge. So I would like to see that person work for your office. And then if you get that and you get the accounting person you've already got money for, then I think that makes our whole purchasing better. And I think we're very loose on purchasing. That's just my opinion. Y'all can.
I agree. I
Well,
think
we
that's
did-
a good
We have talked
idea.
about that for several years, about consolidating. And like, all the office supplies goes to Staples or Office Depot, it doesn't matter. And then they deliver. And people stay within their budget, and that purchasing manager knows who's doing it. It just makes sense.
I agree.
And we've had conversations, I think we both agree with that together. Whatever works best.
It's
as long as
that
we
amount
can
of
gain
money,
access.
we should be able to find the talent.
And I guess what I'd love to see is how quick y'all can set it up.
Well, you have a twofold problem there. The warehouse, we have to attack because it's an audit issue right now. The purchasing is something that we will work into. So we start, but you can't go full bore and tell everybody. Everything's got to go through the purchasing manager because they're going to be busy trying to set all this information up in the warehouse. Essentially, I've been your purchasing manager. I'm the one that's fighting all of the contract questions, MWBE, purchasing questions. I think between me and Randy both, we're your purchasing right now, and it's a strain on us.
But you and Randy shouldn't be the ones doing it, right?
But yes, there's a lot of things that I'm having to do, but
Because there's nobody to do it.
There's
I
nobody
agree.
to do it, that's right.
But now, so to that second point, do we still need, or do we need a warehouse technician?
I believe you do, because you've got to have somebody that
Looking after the
understands,
warehouse.
they understand the warehouse that can help with that. Because what's gonna happen when that contract needs to be done, or that PO for the chemicals needs to be done, that person's not there. There's gotta be a backup. You still have me, and you still have Nona, but I do think you need, because if not, you're gonna bottleneck, and people are gonna call all of y'all and say, hey, we can't get X done. Well, you can't get it done because the purchasing manager's out.
Well,
So
and how do you get stuff out of the warehouse today?
The supervisors have controlled access through the supervisors, primarily through the distributions and collections. And
So they go and pull whatever the crew
Well,
needs.
it's tracked. We've slowly started to implement it through CityWorks, and things that they need on a day-to-day basis are expensed out to the trailers. So it's still tracked. It's just location changes from the warehouse to their trailers. And as they use it, in fact, every Friday morning they come in and restock their trailers for the next week, and they'll pull it from the warehouse, track it in CityWorks. It goes dispensed from the warehouse to the trailers. So there's a system that over the course of the last year, maybe 8 to 10 months, we've been steadfast at trying to implement and have control and track things a little bit better.
Okay. And that's working decent? Pretty
That's
good?
working very well. We just, that technicians needed, we need someone at the warehouse. Our stuff happens real time. It's nice, projects you can write a scope of work for and plan, do your purchase order, get everything, all your supplies in place, and then go do a large project is one thing. But when things break at 2 o'clock in the morning, we need stuff readily available. We can't go downtown and pick it up. And we have so many different types of components in our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is 50, 60, 70 years old. We have about every type of valve, every type of fire hydrant in the city. You send a picture today of a fire hydrant. That one's about, what, 40, 50 years old?
It's pretty damn old.
It is old, but we're trying to change those out to one standard fire hydrant, just one, and then we can reduce our inventory in the warehouse. But when you have to maintain 5 systems for fire hydrants, you have to keep a larger inventory, so.
All right, so everybody good with those two positions? David, go ahead.
Let me comment. On Friday, I went out to the warehouse, or out to Public Works, and I met with Don and Chad, and spent an hour in the warehouse talking about processes and procedures. And it was clear to me that they feel that putting a warehouse technician by title here on site there and implementing the processes and procedures that we should be doing, utilizing CityWorks, which is capable of handling the incoming, the inventory, the distribution, and all that stuff, management, would suffice, backed up by Tina, who apparently is doing a lot of that stuff now in terms of record keeping, who's also being schooled at the UNC School of Government in purchasing or procurement. So I came away from there and I discussed it with the mayor that those people, Chad and Don, who are working with this stuff, especially Don, feel very comfortable with just a warehouse technician. I also fully support and highly recommend that this purchasing manager title here be, number one, the title be changed to a procurement manager, because there's a difference between procurement and purchasing. Procurement is just different, and that person should work under the finance director. So I want to just throw my 2 cents worth in on that.
Any other comments?
And just to chime in on that, just by the label, like you said, from manager to technician, how much would you figure that would save between those titles, just the title in itself, if we were to look at a figure of?
Well, you're essentially approving both here from what I've heard, right? Or no?
Yeah, you're putting both there. You're gonna hire both people. Because one of them's gonna be, it's Catherine somewhere, one of them's gonna be in the warehouse, right?
Just one.
Assigned to the warehouse full-time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody good with that?
Good.
And one other thing, in that regard, Catherine, I'm sure you've done it. I mean, I hope you have. If not, then I'm sure some of your lists too do. I know you've been busy. But we really need to take a look at our procurement processes, procedures within the city and make sure that we're up to date and so forth. I reviewed them 4 years ago before I was even sworn in. That was the first thing I looked at. And I'm sure 4 years past, we need to be taking a look at them. So
There are a couple of corrections that do need to be made and need to be updated that I've looked at.
yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, so we're gonna hire 5 and 6. The next is a utility system operator.
This is the valve crew.
That's right.
Rick, talk to me about the valve crew and how you're going to do that if you get these 2 guys.
Valve crew, we have over 5,000 valves in the system right now. We've never had a crew to do preventative maintenance where they go out on a schedule and exercise the valves to make sure that they will function when we need to have them. Ideally, it's recommended you have 4 valves per intersection. We don't even have that now. We probably need another 5,000 valves installed to effectively manage our system when we have a water main break. Wayne Memorial alone, 4th Street, between 4th Street and Corporate, there are no valves. So if anything breaks on either side of the road there, we have to shut the entire area down just to do maintenance or to repair a line. This valve crew, in fact, we've been on site, and you think you're going to isolate a block to do a repair, and you go to turn the valve off, and some of them have been paved over, you can't find them. Some, when you find them, they're rung off or they won't turn, so you have to go out further. So now you're turning off 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks, and if we have to throttle back the water flow to where we have to issue a burn water, Lord have mercy, a boil water notice, it impacts a larger part of the city. So having this valve crew is going to enable us to start going through on a schedule and exercising all these valves, identifying which ones need to be repaired and replaced, doing that as they exercise and do the preventative maintenance. And right now, if we were to hire the valve crew this next fiscal year, it would probably take 5 years to get through our entire system to exercise every valve and record it, and just to ensure that they'll be functional when we go out and deploy to do repairs at night or whenever. It's just, and then I think during the annual audit for the water distribution system, that was the one recommendation. Everything else we got passed with flying colors. The one recommendation, or the one thing they noted, was we don't have a valve maintenance crew, and it doesn't reflect well. It impacts us almost on a daily basis when we go out to do any type of repairs.
Any questions? So what is the maintenance mechanic go with that?
Yes, sir. It's a two-man crew. One's the technician, the assistant, and the other one is the actual.
And is that also the one you're buying like $170,000 truck?
$147,500.
How much?
$147,500.
And a backhoe too or something?
No, sir.
Just
That's all inclusive. You can go out, you can, it's got like a mini jet truck, jet rodder as well, so we can do anything needs to be done on site with that valve, they can take care of it.
I mean, to me, that's something we could put off a year. I mean, we ain't done it in 100 years. Another year. I know you don't want to do that, but I'm just saying that's that's $250,000 that we don't have to do this minute.
230, but yeah, it's right.
Well, it's up to the council. Anybody got any comments or thoughts? I got a pretty quiet council, don't I?
Yes, sir, we do.
The only thing I worry about, Rick, will those two people be able to start installing additional valves? Is that what?
Their primary responsibility will be to go out and assess, exercise, make sure that the valves are functioning. If it's broken, they'll identify it to be replaced. Now, will they backfill if needed? Of course they will. Just because you're assigned to one specific job in distributions and collections doesn't mean you do it all the time. We pull forces together all the time to do large jobs. And if it becomes more evident that we have so many, that if they identify so many valves that our distribution crew can effectively go out and replace, then sure, we'll pull them together and start replacing them as well. It's fluid. It's very fluid. But their primary mission will be, or responsibility will be, to assess the system and make sure that all valves are operational.
Rick, are you going to have transportation to support these people doing their job?
That's what the equipment, the truck is.
So they're getting a new truck.
Okay.
It's all one package. I think it's an F450, and then everything is on the back. The mini jet rodder, the vac, everything's on the back that they need to.
Okay.
Valve exercise machine, everything.
I might have missed out on something. How often are your guys like cross-categorically trained? Like I know, for example, with the fire department, some guys do high-angle rescue, some guys do water rescue, but at some point they get all cross-categorically trained like in certain areas. So if you were to need to pull a guy that might work in one division one day that needs to be in this area, do y'all do that in your department? Like train guys across?
They do. Water distribution, I think they have the A, B, and C or CBA certifications, and then on the collection side, you have the level 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they interact. Just because you're on the water distribution crew doesn't mean you can't get certifications on the collection side as well. Backflow prevention, I think there are about 9 certifications total, but the crews, they do interchange back and forth. And that's a big pushback there. We want that in case someone's out on leave or we have a large job, they backfill and fill in for each other on a regular basis. We just make sure that everyone who's running the crew is certified.
Gotcha, thank you.
These guys would also be able to fix it. Their primary job may be to identify it and have somebody come in behind them to fix it, but if they had to
Yes,
fix
sir,
the
I
valves,
do.
they'd be capable.
Yes, sir.
Can we hold off on voting on that till we go through the budget a little more?
Yeah, we don't have to do anything about it. Nothing
This
on
is
the
probably
budget.
hinging a lot on the 15 versus 20 or 25%
I'm sorry,
rate
what?
increase. This position here is hinging on whether or not it's a 15, 20, or
Well, yeah, because if we
25%.
cut to the 15, if we stick with that, that would help you a lot, getting your budget right. Okay.
Okay.
All right, next we got number 9 is an operator for the water treatment plant. And I think Mike was pretty adamant that he needed that. That he doesn't have any backup, he doesn't have any,
We gotta have a backup.
he doesn't have, he's got supervisors doing stuff and not doing what they're supposed to. Did I remember?
That's correct.
Am I saying that correctly?
Mike can talk to it if you'd like, but the supervisor's basically staying on duties on the weekends and stuff, so he's not able to spend the time supervising that he should. And of course, if you have COVID hit and take a couple people out, you don't have the people there to keep your water flowing, so it seems a pretty important position. Mike, do you have anything to add, Mike?
I would just add that, you know, it's a similar situation to certifications and bringing that individuals on board. The individual that we hired in January, the earliest that individual is even going to be able to be certified at our plant currently is going to be in September. You know,
Hold on, Mike. Mike, hold on, so we can turn up the volume on you, or talk better into the mic. We can't hear you very well.
Brad's gonna adjust it. Brad has to.
Do what?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
To piggyback on the certification, we hired an operator in January, and that individual has to go to a school, has to get 6 months of on-the-job training, and then assumably has to pass their exam the first time the exam is going to be available in September. So although we have a body at the plant, it takes a minimum of 6 months to a year to get an operator certified to get them on board into the weekend duty. And as you already discussed, our chief treatment plant operator over there, he currently works in the weekend duty rotation, so that takes him away from the plant at least once a month for 24 hours because he's working that weekend duty.
Any comments?
I think we gotta have that guy.
You
We
said-
gotta have a backup there.
Tosh,
I think we need, that's a necessity.
Randy? Good. David, you good? Okay. Good. All right. Okay, so number 9 is a go.
Okay.
Sorry. And so I just wanted to flash this slide up. This is actually in the big book where we talked about, these are the 17 people that are benefited. They are part-time permanent, the new designation the council approved back in early April when they approved the new personnel policy. So these are all people that are here today. They receive some retirement, 401k, holiday, vacation, sick, and so forth. And because they are benefited, you know, we're putting these forth to you guys to just approve that they are permanent part-time positions. So if you have any questions.
We have part-time people that work permanently part-time, to my understanding, that are not benefited. That's correct?
That is correct, sir.
And they've been here for, some cases, years. Why aren't we bringing them in?
It would be the number of hours. So based on that chart that was in the personnel policy, if they worked more than the 20 hours, the state law, that was 2014, said you've got to pay them retirement. So if you pay them retirement, you also have to pay them 401k. So the policy that we updated in April brought on board not just that, the law changes, it brought on board the allocation of vacation, sick, and holiday. So these were the only people that were identified. So after the council passed the policy in April, then my staff started working on the list. These were the only people that were identified that worked more than the 20 hours that fell into those benefited categories. So there may be others, but they must be working less than 20 because these are the only people that we were told.
Were they identified by the department heads?
That would be correct. They were identified and then passed through Human Resources.
Right.
And then they passed them on
Sure.
to us, and this is how we developed the list.
But I'm going to give you an example. Tommy, who walks this street every day picking up trash, emptying trash bins, he's been with the city now for years. And he's asked me 10 times at least in the past 6 months, why isn't he being considered or being given the same benefits as others?
If he was working more than the 20 hours per week, then he should have been on this list.
Right. I don't know how many hours he works, but I know he's out there almost every day, so.
Well, now you got the answer. Tell him he needs to be working 20 hours a week.
Bernadette, are you on the line? Can you talk to that specific issue?
Catherine, off the top of your head, while she's coming online, do you know how many of those people we have?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we have you, Bernadette.
Or more hours to qualify to get health insurance. As far as the retirement system, if they're working 1,000 hours or more a year in a 12-month period, then we have to offer them retirement benefits. So those are the two benefits that's regulated by law that we have to offer, but they have to be working a minimum of 20 to 29 hours per week.
Do you
If
happen
a
to,
part-time employee is working less than that, then they do not qualify for benefits.
the list that we developed came through you from each department head, correct?
Correct.
I guess my concern is, are we keeping these people from working 20 hours so we don't have to incur that obligation? Or do we not have a need for them?
Maybe this is a Felicia question. This person probably works for Felicia downtown?
Pardon?
The person you're commenting upon works?
This is Felicia. I'm on the line.
Go ahead, Felicia. Do you know Tommy downtown?
Yes, that's other people's park operation. So we actually contract with a temp service. So Tommy, he does not work for the city of Goldsboro directly. We're contracting with a temp service, so we're contracting him to work with us.
So the temp service pays him whatever they pay him.
Correct. We pay the temp service a fee,
Okay.
and the temp service, they're responsible for paying
He's
for
working for
their.
temp.
Yeah, he's working for
Okay.
temp service. That's what she said. Okay.
Thank you for the
But
clarification.
just one other question. I know there's an overhead when you hire someone to temp service, meaning overhead in terms of what we pay them and what they get and all that stuff. So have we ever looked at the cost analysis of bringing these people on board and making them permanent part-time personnel rather than continue to pay a temp agency?
Not to my knowledge, that has not been done, and we have different pools that happens in, like in Parks and Rec, planning, because they have a lot of labor. I mean, we have not looked at that, no.
I can see where a temp agency is good for temporary situations, but when you got a person that's been working for years for the city under a temp agency, maybe we need to take another look at that situation.
Okay. All right, we sure can. Okay, so I thought we'd run through capital outlay. What I did was I just left in the amounts that were in the recommended column, and I didn't know if the council had any concerns about what was recommended. We cut the capital back tremendously, and I start with the general fund, and if there was something that was on the recommended budget that you did not want to see go through, or if there's something missing, we can discuss that. The first section is IT. They have, of course, the IT lease with the servers and the storage. They have a drone, and they also have a truck to pull the utility fiber trailer that they operate. The cemetery, they have a mower, which is going to be paid out of the cemetery reserve fund. In planning, that's a requirement because there are two NCDOT projects, so those cannot be changed or cut. In streets, Rick had asked for an excavator, a pickup truck, and a utility trailer, and that's kind of a package unit. And then they were replacing the truck bodies on two older trucks, but the trucks were in good shape. It was just the body that was rusted out. Then we had the railroad signals, that has to be in there, and then the multi-use paving for the Stony Creek Greenway, it has to be there, it can't be cut. I guess the biggest items was the council okay with the excavator, the truck and the trailer, and with the dump bodies and with the mower? Those would be kind of the biggest discretionary items if y'all are okay with those.
Are those trucks dependent upon hiring the two people, or are those different trucks?
Those are different trucks, sir.
So that truck is for the, what are those trucks for? What is that truck for?
The
the
service
street?
body truck, yes, for streets department, yes, sir.
I thought they went together.
Yeah, I thought they went with the other thing, I
I
didn't
thought
realize.
the Bobcat and all that went with the valve crew.
No, this is in streets, that the other truck is in, there
It
it
don't take
is.
them long to get back in here, does it?
Yes, sir, I ran all the way down the hall.
What are you doing with the club cab service body truck, Rick?
Which one are we talking about?
That, streets excavator tandem.
5426?
Yeah.
Maybe, I can't see it.
Those
Right
were-
out there.
Yeah.
The 350?
Yeah.
That's a replacement for the truck. Snapper was in an accident. In total to the truck, I think we got about $7,000 back in insurance. That's to replace that.
Okay.
And the
And it had to come with an excavator?
excavator, well, we have a backhoe that has over 6,000 hours, needs to be replaced, and it's over $100,000. The excavator is 60, and the footprint's small on the street. We've moved to a lot of excavators. It's 360 rotation versus the 180.
Lot
It's
easier to
just,
use.
makes more sense, and then the trailers to haul it.
Okay.
Okay,
Any questions there? Everybody good?
good.
All right.
In solid waste, we have a rear loader, that's the $200,000, and then he's got the dumpster carrier that's in there as well, and then the leaf vacuum loader. In police, we cut all of Chief's requests except for two vehicles that he needed to replace because they are out of commission, essentially. There's one tsunami camera, and they needed a refrigerator for Kalia standards.
I just want to be sure the tsunami cameras, we still have whatever we had. This is an additional one?
This is my understanding was an additional.
Chief, are you on the line? I think this is the lease for the 5 cameras that we already have.
Well, we got 5 cameras, and what I'm asking is, the 5 cameras are budgeted, you just budgeted 1 camera. So I want to be sure.
No, it says 5.
Huh?
5 one-year lease. Go ahead, Mike.
This was in addition to the 5 that we currently have. We were requesting 5 more cameras with a lease, and then we got it reduced down to 1 additional camera.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the other 5 are still in the budget, right?
Yes.
The
The 5 we
lease.
have already are in the budget.
The lease, these were in addition.
Right, okay.
Yeah. In Parks and Rec, we cut them down to 1 mower, and then the playground equipment, they actually asked for 3. We cut them down to 1 playground at HV Brown. And then in the golf course, there's a golf range picker vehicle or unit that they asked for as well. There is a list further down where it talks about what's being financed, but for sure the garbage packer is going to be financed. So if that was something you decided you didn't want, it just reduces the revenue. I think everything else, the vacuum loader and the garbage packer, I think, are financed. Everything else is cash payments, so cutting that helps the budget as far as like making more funds available, so.
And I'm just curious, why do we need a $10,000 refrigerator?
Chief West, can you address that?
I didn't hear the question.
It's the evidence storage refrigerator that you're trying to replace?
Right, the one that currently in there, it's a residential refrigerator. One of the standards is that the freezer portion for evidence that we have to store needs to be alarmed. That way, if there's a power outage or a malfunction, that our crime scene techs are notified, whether they're off duty, that there's an alarm in order to come in and reset or fix the refrigerator so we don't lose critical evidence.
So,
Any questions on this?
No, you gotta have that.
Everybody good?
okay.
Chief, you still there, Chief? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir, I am.
Our last meeting, I had concerns about the shot spotter, but you weren't available.
Sir.
Can you elaborate at this point what your feelings are on it?
Definitely, ShotSpotter is very important to us, simply because it's just the technology to locate, shots fired. Not every citizen calls in shots fired report. It allows us the opportunity to map where we're receiving these shots fired over a designated time frame, so we can look where hot spots where we need to concentrate our efforts if we're seeing, gun crimes. If you base ShotSpotter just on a number of firearms you take off the street alone or number of arrests, that's not really a good gauge on its effectiveness. It allows us better community policing to get into these neighborhoods where there's a high number of shots fired, to follow up with the residents, address their concerns, look for additional evidence. So it's very beneficial to us.
Okay. I also noticed that we didn't have anything in our budget for the PAL program, the Police Athletic League. Is there a reason why?
That's in under Community Police Services for events, I believe. So it's in there. It may not be designated specifically for PAL, but we still do have the PAL program, and we are definitely moving forward with it. We haven't done away with it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that's all for the general fund. Stormwater, the big thing there is the street sweeper, and that will be financed, $267,000. Was that acceptable for the council? Yes, sir.
I wanted to piggyback on what I had suggested that I know that the fire department had asked for that four-wheel vehicle, but it's not up here. I think it would be kind of difficult to share that particular vehicle with the other department. So we definitely, I hope that the council can decide that the fire department needs it. I think that we kind of cut their budget tremendously, and I think that something that will allow them in floods and storms to get places that they couldn't get normally is something that's a necessary thing. So I hope the council will approve that piece of equipment. How much was that?
Is this the ATV for $35,000?
Yes. Thank you.
And I just want to piggyback on that, because with us having greenways and areas that fire trucks are not accessible to, you're talking about quarter to half miles that these guys will have to go and literally walk through marshy land, and we already know that some of our low-lying areas, that's like the chief said, a tool in our toolbox. That's something that's imperative. Even off-road fires that we have to have. I mean, that's going to reduce the manpower needed using a tool. And it's, like I said, it's amphibious. It goes underwater, has capabilities that we know we're going to need with all of our areas in flood districts. So I think that's a necessity. That's not a want. That's a tool in the toolbox. So
Where is that? What?
that's not up here, but it was mentioned in the big book.
I thought we were buying one in another department that y'all said they could share.
In the sewer, water reclamation, sewer.
And is it the same thing, same price?
Well, we funded it at that level, and I think Councilman Williams' concern was, is it really going to be available for them to use? So we can cut that out of utility fund, because obviously we got some cutting to do, so that'll help. And we would just have to find the $36,000 in the general fund to pay for it, if that was acceptable.
Well, I mean, but I don't even know why the utility fund, I mean, they may need it, I don't know, I'm asking.
Well, they needed some sort of like a golf cart utility gator type thing to go around the perimeters of those pond things, whatever they, basins.
Detention ponds.
Yeah, those
But you
things.
don't need a $35,000.
No, we were trying to do a twofer, just trying to get the benefit. But they only asked for like 12,000 for theirs, so we can, like I said, cut that out, and we just have to find money in the general fund to do that.
The problem is, you probably need both of them at the same time,
I'll
when
support
you
it.
have the,
I couldn't hear you, sir. I couldn't hear you, sir.
I think the problem is you may need both of them at the same time in a disaster,
Yeah.
emergency with a flooding.
Well, I mean, to that same point, the police probably need one too. 'Cause they don't-
Police, I just got a text from the police, they are working for a grant on that,
Okay.
and he'll know tomorrow, I think.
Well, why don't we see what they do, then we'll go from there.
He'll know tomorrow if the police is approved for their grant.
And maybe the fire department could look for a grant too. I mean, I don't know. Fine.
Street sweeper in stormwater fund, that's gonna be financed. Is that okay? Good, everybody.
We gotta have streets.
Well, since you don't have any money to pay for it, I guess you're gonna have to finance it.
Okay. Utility fund, obviously, we talked about Rick's utility valve truck, that was $147,000. In there, I don't know if you can see it there, it's on that line, there's that golf cart, the spray fields. So we put 35, but we can cut that back to what he asked for was $9,300. In the utility fund in the capital org, this is for the employee that works with Marty. It's to replace the surveyor's truck and the equipment that goes along with it. And then we've got these improvements with the DOT project. We can't cut that, that's got to be there. In compost, they asked for a dump truck and a heavy-duty wheel loader. So there is no financing in the utility fund. So anything that I cut is going to help bridge I think it's going to be about $700,000 if we do a 15% rate increase. That's what I've got to cut. So I guess if, you want to help me, to help make a decision, for me, is like if you want us to put off the water tank paint, Mike would have to speak to what kind of effect that has on our water system. But obviously, cutting that helps balance about 2/3 of what I need out of $700,000.
Well, if you cut the utility valve truck, that's $147,000. If you cut 20,000 or so out of the golf cart, that's another, that puts you up some. If you,
If you do the utility valve truck, you won't buy the people either, so that's
yeah.
2/3.
That's another 100,000.
So you've got that.
Yeah.
And then you got the,
Deferred, you hope water tank.
what's the, I don't know the emergency paint and water.
Mike, can you talk to the water tank painting?
Yeah, so the next tank that needs maintenance and repainted is the New Hope tank on New Hope Road on the other side of the Bradbury Apartments. That tank is in desperate need. There are missing ladder rungs, both climbing up the tank and going into the tank. The paint has chipped off inside the tank. We've recently replaced the vent because it's the vent and the hatch up on top have rusted through. I think I spoke at the last council meeting that if we kind of commit to this tank asset management plan, we can reduce the costs, and that's where Catherine shows it going from the 760 to the 500,000. And we can also do some OSHA and ANSI corrections with our other ladders that are currently out of compliance. The fire department mentioned the last time they climbed the Harris tank or the effigy, they didn't necessarily feel safe with the climbing the safety rail on that tank, so we need to get that back up into the current compliance. So all that would be covered under that 500,000.
I guess the question is, Mike, can it wait a year, or do you feel like it really needs to happen right now?
I would look to cut other things out of my budget before I would cut that tank.
Okay. Maybe we can help you with that too.
So what do you need to cut, Mike, if they do 15%?
Well, I think we thought it was going to be somewhere between 680 and 700,000. So, between.
Tim, y'all have that conversation offline.
Okay.
And let us
Yeah.
know. All right.
Okay.
What else?
Okay. And that's just the IT lease in travel and tourism. So this is just a list that kind of talks to what we're going to borrow the money on. And that was in your other book and your other slide as well. And then operating expenditures. So, you know, out of that $64 million budget, about $16.6 million is operating expenditures, so not salary, not capital, and that makes up about 25% of the total budget. In the general fund, of the $16.6 million, about $9.5 million is what the general fund makes up. So those are things like office supplies and maintenance and other things like that. That's about 22% of the total budget. So I just wanted to tell you that in the process of the department request to get to the manager recommended, some things that we did to bring that deficit down was we cut training and travel 30%. So, you know, that gave me about $70,000 in savings. I cut unobligated operating expenditures. So you just said supplies. So it wasn't like I got the copy machine contractor, the HVAC contractor, the elevator contract, but other things. That helps save $1 million going back to the FY20 if the department didn't say, Catherine, you can't cut that because that is a contracted item. That helps save. So then I cut 15% on top of what we cut. So I looked at their FY20 adopted and cut it back another 15%. That saved another $675,000. And the types of items that I cut, it were fuel, vehicle maintenance, office supplies, operational supplies, tools, electricity, natural gas, printing, building maintenance, tree replacement, machine equipment maintenance, advertising, communications, marketing, tree service, equipment expense. I did forget to put demolition on there, but demolition was another one of those items that we cut to help get us to a balanced budget. I did put demolition was the $150,000. We cut tuition reimbursement, so departments just have to find the money, basically, in their budgets. Our workers' comp reserve, which you will see come Monday night with this gigantic budget amendment that I'm bringing forth to you, we had $150,000 for this year. I had to cut that to help balance the budget. We cut the Tiger match, so we still do owe about $300,000 for the Tiger match that we've got to find at some point. So I cut that to help balance the budget. I cut.
Well, hold it now.
Sir,
Why are you cutting it if we gotta have it?
pushing it forward. We're going to push it forward.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have quite a bit of funding there. Just off the top of my head, you know, it was $1.8 million, right, and we funded about 1.5 so far. So I still need about another $300,000. So also cut $73,000 in garage tires, parts, and outside repairs as well. So that helped us get to a balanced budget that we presented forth. So just talking about operating expenditures, you know, because we've been through personnel, we've been through capital. Did council have any recommendations on additions, changes, or reductions in operating expenditures that you would like to put forth to the staff?
I should cut about everything we can cut.
Yeah, I think you could. You're gonna have to go back to the planning department there and give them some money for demolition,
Right,
for trees and stuff like that. I mean, there's no way they can do on what they got. But to me, we can let them spend what they got, and then we'll figure it out then. right?
So that's exactly our plan, is because they got more than $1, so they've got some money to spend. They're not going to spend it July 1. Let's look and see how our revenues come in for the sales tax and property tax. Revisit this again maybe in October and then again in January, and let's see how the coffers are. And then if it looks like we're in good shape, because I think council's very adamant about that, we've got to take care of the trees in the right of way, and that's what Jennifer takes care of. So we can replenish her and give her some additional funding then so that she can handle it. Yes, sir.
Is your tuition reimbursement cut the same as education reimbursement?
It should be the line item, yes, sir.
This line item is education reimbursement.
I think I might have called it tuition reimbursement, but it might be called education reimbursement actually in the book.
It is in here.
Okay,
Just wanna
I'm
make
sorry,
sure.
you're right.
Okay, so is that the 24K 50% cut, or are you cutting the 24K 50%?
That is the cut, yes, sir.
Okay,
That
because-
was the savings.
Yeah, it matches up with what's in the
Okay.
budget.
Okay, good.
Was there any reason why we, travel and tourism, we didn't really cut anything in regard to that?
So mainly my concern was I was trying to balance the general fund, and we were able to balance out the other funds like travel and tourism. We were able to balance them within the revenues that they had. If the board wanted to change some of that and say, we want to see some cuts there, we absolutely can do that. So what I would do is I would just put the rest of it in like a fund balance, a transfer to fund balance, if you wanted to see cuts in other organizations like occupancy tax fund.
Now, do we get any help with the air show from the county?
Yeah, they pay, we don't get help, but they pay,
They pay their own,
yeah, they pay their own part. They pay the same thing we do.
but they should be helping us with travel and tourism with some of these fees, right?
Well, they do. And if you look in there, the county has a line item. Because some of this money they take in.
I don't see it.
Hold on that.
The county does reimburse us for some salaries and for advertising. It actually shows up as revenue in the
Okay.
occupancy tax fund.
Okay.
So they pay us a check, and then, of course, we in turn pay them a check for their 40% of the 5% occupancy tax fund. So that's showing as an expense on occupancy tax.
You know what the county contribution is overall?
I got it right here. The county, $212,000.
212,000.
But, Catherine, help me out, on page 52 of this book, we pay the county 40% of that tax that comes in, and that's that 352, right?
Where is it, 52,000?
8%.
Yeah,
858?
but all that, Councilman Williams, is mandated by law. I mean, we don't have a choice in what we pay.
Okay. So I had another question. If Felicia's still on the phone, I know, you guys were moving a little quick and I kind of missed it. I wanted to talk to her. Felicia, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
All right. I noticed there was 2 mowers that you have requested, but you're just receiving 1. Is that correct?
So far, yes, that's correct.
Was there a reason why you needed 2?
Yes, what we try to do as well as other departments is we develop a maintenance plan where we're trying to rotate out our mowers, so we won't have to come before you all as council at one time and say, we need 6 brand new mowers. So we were trying to do a rotation. And we did not get a mower last year, and so that's why this year we're asked to replace 2 of our mowers, but at this point, it looks like we'll be able to replace 1 of our mowers because our mowers run every day. We're not necessarily cutting permanent parts, for instance, every day, but we are cutting every day. And so we put a lot of hours on our mowers.
Yeah, and now you have more ground to cover with us finishing up streetscape and the other parks that we have. And I had another question too. I noticed you're going to be doing playground equipment for H.B. Brown Park.
Well, that's what we were originally intending to do. And you may be leading towards like South End Park. But we recently had to take out some of the playground equipment at South End Park. And so that's one of the things that we've been discussing is if that money is still in the budget, instead of adding another playground piece to H.B. Brown Park, which is, we already have one there, but take that money and potentially look at putting replacement playground at South End Park.
Well, I've been talking to the assistant city manager for quite some time about getting a water feature in that particular park, in H.B. Brown Park. I think that, the kids, the families there get an opportunity to enjoy that. I've actually asked citizens over the week where they like to see their money used, and a lot of them stated that they would like to see like a water feature. I know that one water feature is much cheaper than having a splash pad, and so if that's something that we can consider, it would be great.
I'll look into it.
What is a water feature?
A water feature is something that, it may be like a well, and it just has a spout. So, the kids can go there, they can get wet, opposed to having all of the splash pads, all the faucets and everything, all the water features coming up. Just one water feature, and it looks like an animal, or it can look like a insect, and you see them all over the parks in different areas, and it's one feature. You just have one water line, you have your drain, and it works. Thank you, Felicia.
You're welcome.
So any more discussion on operating expenditures, anything we missed or that we need to add? We'll move on to agencies if you're good. Okay, so we took basically a 10% cut on most of the agencies. Chamber of Commerce and Wayne County Alliance, those are set fees, so we couldn't cut any of that. And then the GWTA, as we said, they were able to secure quite a bit of federal funding, which saved us $178,000, which obviously big help trying to balance the budget. So the others, as you see in that far right column, it's basically a 10% decrease. It saved us, I think it was around $17,000 total. And I don't know if the council has any, concerns or, any additions you want to make to this.
Any comment?
Well, we cut one, we need to cut them all and cut them the same. That's the way I feel. I wish we could fund every one of them at their max request, but this year we can't. Maybe next year we can.
Yeah.
But that's, every line item on that is a very important part of our community.
And that's not to say, again, when we revisit our revenues, if the money is there, that we can't put the funding in place. We can always amend the budget and put that funding in place. And I'm sure that is a priority with this council.
Well, I like to advocate for Drummers World because they've done a lot to put Goldsboro on the map. They've traveled all over North Carolina, and anytime we've needed them, they've come forward. They do a lot for the youth here. They've asked for $2,500. I'm sure we can find $2,500 somewhere.
The reason I didn't say anything about them either, because I agree with you 100%, but I'm pretty sure we can get them community development money. We did that last year. So if we can get that there, then they'll still be covered. But I think we got them like $5,000 last year.
And also, too, we did communicate with them and reach out to them because the paperwork that we need to be able to fund them, they did not respond back to us.
He's
So,
not a very good paperwork person.
sir?
Oh. Very good paperwork person. He's busy teaching the kids how to play the drums.
We did fund them last year, and I did the same way.
I had a question.
I'm sorry.
I had a question pertaining to Friends of Goldsboro. Friends of Seymour. I don't see it up here right now, but I know that was something that I asked the mayor about the last meeting we had, $80,000. Who are these Friends of Seymour?
Well, the Friends of Seymour.
Who's part of the group? Who's part of that organization?
They're through the chamber, and they can give you the list better than I can give you the list. Like I know I'm a member, Bill's a member for the represent the city, and what happens is the money is really passed through. We pay half, the county pays half, and we have a consultant in Washington D.C., the Roosevelt Group, which you've heard before, and our money basically goes to pay them. And if you ask me something else, I'll try to get it.
The Friends of Seymour also raise money. They
raise money privately, right?
They raise money privately. And that is really just a war chest of if in fact we have any more threats against the base.
Well, and the real reason that Friends of Seymour got established is because of the wind farms. Because somebody was fixing to get a permit for a wind farm, and we didn't even know about it. And so that's when we figured out we sort of had to be more proactive. And that's when the MAC and the Chamber, all them formed the Friends of Seymour. So it's probably about 2015, 2016.
Well, I'd like to, learn and be involved in what they do because, if I'm handing over $80,000, I want to know what the intentions are to really help this city. So if you can.
Okay, we'll get you on something.
Thank you.
And I have one more question about a line item of Waynesboro Park, that's $20,000.
Yes, sir.
And I know Mr. Leader very well, and I know he heads that. What all does the city, for one, that's in a flood zone, for one, what all does the city contribute to that? Is it, cut the grass, because aren't they part of the historic reservation type funding? Don't they get a lot of money? Because I know they got like a lot of historic buildings, but I thought that was maybe something the county or the historic preservation.
The county gives them right much more money than we do.
Okay.
And, I think our money just actually goes to operations. I don't know one way or the other.
Okay.
And we can get you a better answer if you
Yes,
want a
sir.
better answer. Or you can go out there and see them and see what they do. I think to me that'd even be better.
I've asked the same question.
Yeah, because last time I went out there, I know I used to go fishing in that little pond back there, but it's even dried up. And they probably got about 5 buildings, an old blacksmith shop and an old church, but I know we've got to retain our historic value in Goldsboro, but they're getting more money than the Boys and Girls Club, which services people every day, And I'm just, I guess I'm just wondering why that agency gets more money than the Boys and Girls Club, which I know do 10 times more in the community than what that particular area does. So I'll check into it.
Well, I think you should go check it out.
Okay.
And it might be that we need to change the allocation.
Yes, sir.
Maybe, because you're right, I don't know who could be more important.
Right.
And, or watch or wish or all those things, so, But it's just historically what we have done.
Thank you.
And sometimes we can add money, especially.
Catherine, can you get it to page,
CDBG.
in this book, page 51, do you have this book?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is down, the DGDC, right, downtown district?
Downtown,
The
yes, sir.
MSD fund? So I have a question. When I went through one fund, and I can't find what the heck I did with it, we were funding money for the stage. They had to have a screen, a projector screen. And
Yes,
this,
sir.
that, and the- you know what slide I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. That one is in the general fund, and it's in the downtown development. It's 1025. It's going to be in the big book. If you go, let's see. It is page 91 in the big book, is downtown development. And if you go to page 96, at the very bottom, where you're talking about the stage and projector, it's on that line called Downtown Projects 4991, 66,000. Is that what you were talking about, Mayor?
Yeah. So my question is, instead of using general fund money for that, why can't we use the MSD money for that?
It's probably, you could, okay? So we would have to change the expenditures in the MSD fund, because they don't have any fund balance, because we use the fund balance to help fund the stage. So we would have to cut some of their other line items, the advertising, beautification programs, incentive programs.
Yeah, I think what I'd love to see us do is, if somebody doesn't mind, is talk to Aaron. We don't want to wipe them out, right?
Right.
And they need a little bit of money for advertising. They don't need $20,000 for beautification, because we're doing all the beautification anyway.
Right.
Incentive grant program, to me, they don't need that, but the council might not agree, and that's fine. And then I don't know what other expenditures are, but they ought to be able to put some money of the MSD money in there and not use our money.
And we've got $17,000 going to fund balance, so that's the plug that makes it balance. So there's 17 right there that's available.
Right.
That we could offset and take out of the general fund.
Well, I just leave the 17 alone. It ain't gonna hurt them to have a little bit of fund balance, but I just think we need to redirect their spending.
Okay. So do you have a,
Does anybody have a problem with
Is
that?
that not our stage we have already?
It is, yeah, but this is for, to buy stuff for the stage.
Oh, okay.
And this is the stage, portable stage. This is the hub stage.
The hub, okay, I'm sorry.
Is that, everybody okay with that? Is anybody? Okay.
do you have a figure in mind, like, because
All
they
you
had
can- All
10,
you can get,
sir?
all you can get.
All I can get, okay. And then the savings that I save in the general fund, can I use that to offset the amphibious vehicle? That'll help me balance it.
I think what you need to do is go back and take everything we told you.
Yeah.
And just see what you can do with it the best you can, and then we'll go from there, right?
Okay, well, if you don't have a care for that, then I definitely can do that.
I have a question really quick. If we can go to page 21 in the big book, and it's under mayor and council. We have on 21 and 20, on 21 and on the back of 21, I see legal fees, and I see 120,000, and then I see another 120,000. Can you explain that to me a little bit?
I'm sorry, you have to, I just got to that page, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry, take your time.
Okay, what you got?
So 1922, title search and legal fees, 120,000.
So that's for attorney's fees, whether that's our attorney Ron Lawrence or other law firms, that's what gets charged to that account. And that traditionally has been what has been budgeted in that account, has been 120.
Okay, well, where are we at right now in our legal fees? How much have we exceeded this fiscal year?
I don't know that off the top of my head. If there's more conversation, I could probably look it up on the computer, but I have to get logged in. But if not, I can get you the number.
Because
Why don't you just get it to Melissa and let her send it out to everybody?
That would be easier, because I got to log into the accounting system,
So,
so.
and I see the consultant fees. Where are these consulting fees coming from for the mayor and council?
Consultant fees, that's the Friends of Seymour, I believe, the 80,000.
It's listed on the next page on 23, Councilman Williams.
Is there a reason why we listed it like that?
Spells out where the 80K is going, 61.5 to Friends of Seymour, and it covers half that contract. And then 18.5 is available for other things that come up during the year, I guess.
My concern is that, when it comes to our legal fees, we don't know what we're spending. I know we're exceeding 120,000.
Well, I mean, we can get you, a quarterly update or something, if somebody wants that, that's fine. It's not, I mean, it's pretty public information, nobody's trying to hide it.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I know for a fact that this can't accurately say. I know we're gonna go into some other funds to get monies that are needed for legal. So if I can get a little clarity on that, I won't have to keep.
Well, we wouldn't Councilman, we wouldn't go to another fund, and move money from another fund to pay legal fees. I mean, it would just pull down on the general fund. But she'd have to make some type of budget, but I mean, it would be pretty clear and transparent, it wouldn't be anything.
Okay.
I just had one more observation. I don't know how critical this is, but on page 261 in the large book, what's everybody gets there? 261.
61?
261, yes, sir. And I don't know if this was just a copy and paste issue where things were put in the wrong area, but like, for example, well, I'll wait till everybody gets there, 261.
Okay.
My finger's not working, but so fast. Okay. I got you.
Everybody's there. For one, the first area where it speaks of an air compressor, the language next to it says these funds are requested. One turnout gear dryer, that's not an air compressor. And then the next one is fire hose. It talks about SCBA units and cylinders. So it's just in the wrong area. The definitions next to the actual item, for example, air packs, it says these funds are requested to pave a portion of the training facility. So it's just a situation where the item and the definition is, I guess, in the wrong. I didn't know how important that was, but I just wanted to just bring that to attention of the council.
We can fix the page and get you the update.
Yes, sir.
So kind of next steps, we'll have the public hearing on Monday, June 15th at the 7 o'clock meeting as advertised.
But to that point, do we need to meet one time before then? To fix all this, to be sure all this is fixed and we agree on it, or do we just do it at the meeting?
It's pretty clear to me what needs to be done, and so the biggest question is going to be the $700,000 in the utility fund. But I think between Mike, Rick, and myself, I think we can work that out pretty easily and go with the 15%. And then, like the general fund, that's going to be easy to do there as well. So unless you want to, I'm here for y'all.
I'm just asking you and the council. I think you're right. We're probably close enough that we can figure it out.
I've got clear direction from the council.
We vote June the 15th, right?
That's what I'm gonna, so all of this, I have to churn it together and put together an ordinance in the next couple of days. And so, it would be my plan, unless the board has something else, that we would present the ordinance for your adoption, with a 15% water and sewer rate increase, the $1 recycling fees. We talked about all the positions, we talked about the capitals. I feel good about what I've got to put together. So we'll have the budget ordinance, and then we'll have the water and sewer rate resolution for the board to approve come Monday night after the public hearing. So, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Everybody good?
I'm good.
I have a couple other questions. I know I asked for some information pertaining to the community development block grant and the home grant. And I noticed that in fiscal year 2015, 2016, we saved $325,000. And what is our purpose for those funds at the moment?
Mr. Cole, are you on the net? I think there was an email updating on around 180,000.
Well, that's for fiscal year 18-19. In 19-20, it was $180,123. But in fiscal year 2015-2016, we never used all of that money. It was $773,000 that we received, and we used $448,000. So I'd like to know where we're going to use those funds. And I also had a question pertaining to fiscal year 16, 17, 18. And you can get that for me later. It's no big issue.
I don't want to necessarily speak for Shikol on this one, but I understand those funds are at least 5-year funds, so you can roll them up and spend them how you want to. Part of what's going to be presented to council on Monday is an update from Shikol on the CDBG and home funds, the consolidated plan, which is a 5-year plan, and then the annual action plan associated with the first year of that plan. Shikol, do I hear you out there?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had it on mute, and every time I try to unmute it, I cut the speaker off, so please forgive me. The clerk, Melissa, had some information that I provided her to provide to the council because I knew I wasn't going to be present.
We're getting that passed out right now, I think.
Okay. So, what you have
Just
before
hold on,
you is...
just hold on, Shikol, it's not passed out. Give us a minute.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You ready, Tim?
Yeah, you ready, Nicole?
Oh, yes. What I have provided you all are 3 sheets. 2 of them are extracted data straight from the federal HUD system. That is the most accurate information on the City of Goldsboro grant funds from prior year and our current year. So as you can see on the first page, this is the same information I presented to you all in March, on March 16th of the home funds, which shows the 4 years that we do have CDBG funds, home funds available, which equals the $525,000 and let's say $28. As was approved at that March meeting, $500,000 of that is going toward the rental tax credit project that we're collaborating with Morgan and Associates for the Tiffany Garden apartments off of Central Heights Road. So that has already been accounted for, and council has already authorized staff to move forward with that money towards that commitment. In the comp plan that you all were provided in your box, I also provided you all a printout of the 5-year comp plan, an Excel sheet that shows that funds being allocated in each year that we will utilize it to pay for our commitment towards that tax credit project. So, as I said, that has already been authorized by City Council on March 16th of this year. The second page, and also I want to just point out, as you all have been told before, because of HOME's strict discretionary statutory requirements of how that funds can be used, we always have a remaining balance. If we don't do a lot of housing projects of new construction, of single family or rental or multiple down payment assistance, which we can't control if a person cannot get a mortgage loan, we have a large turnover of home funds that rolls over into a prior year. And just also as an FYI, for home and CDBG, we're on what is called the first in, first out FIFO accounting method. So the first grant in is the first grant out. So that's why you're seeing that the decrease is coming from the latter grants than your previous grant, even though you may budget it in the current year. On the second page, I have provided from the HUD system your CDBG funds printout. And as you can see, there's 2 years that you all have funds still available. And as I stated at your last meeting on Monday, you currently have $180,123 available. That is because if you take the 2-year grant year total, of course it adds up to more than $180,000, but you all have a guaranteed debt payment service of $150,000 for WA Foster Center that I have to, whenever I'm preparing for a comp plan or AP year, I have to automatically take that amount out and not show that as a prior year fund that's rolling over. So we may have other activities that we have accounted for, but we may be able not to, pay or do those activities. So you still count that money moving forward. But a debt service, you have to pull that money out. So you have only $180,000. $100,000, like I said, and that, as I said on Monday, is in your public facility line item. We've always rolled over prior year money in public facilities because we don't want to take from the other activities if, let's say, we expend some money before that next year starts. We'd rather take the money from what we would use for city-owned property before we would take money from, let's say, a public service or fair housing activity, those type of things. So that's where that funds is and how that moves forward. And again, like I said, what you're seeing now that the first money that's going to go out when we draw down that debt service for the WA Foster is going to be FY18. Then we're going to take the remainder of it out of 2019, which will leave you the $180,000. On your third page, I know there's been several questions posed to me by citizens and on social media about where is this prior money coming from that we're accounting for in the comp plan and AP that we're reporting to HUD. And so how did we come about it? And so I was showing on this third paper for FY 1918, where that $180,000 is coming from. As you can see, public facility improvement, which is, there's a zero missing because it was $240,000 budgeted for that, so please forgive that error. But we've taken out the $150 for WA Foster, which leaves $90,000. For public services, it was budgeted for $33,635. We have a remaining of $25,000, which is watch of $100,000, watch of $10,000, wish of $10,000, and MPI of $5,000. We do have a check request in for watch to be paid their $10,000, and we're waiting on the final invoices from wish and MPA to pay them out. So that will be deducted if they are, we are provided those invoices and they meet all the requirements. So that will be deducted out of your 180 that we are reporting at this time. For economic development, you had budget $23,511. Well, we've put a halt on just this summer youth program. Therefore, those funds have not been expended, and that's in your prior year. And then program administration, we had budgeted $65,696, which is the 20% cap max that HUD makes us, we can't go over. Currently, right now, we still have $41,612 still remaining in that line item in the HUD system. So that's how we came up with $180,123. Again, as I stated, that prior year money for CDBG is placed in public facility. Home is placed in your rental, which you all approved in March. Is there any other questions about the funding that I can answer?
Thank you, Sco.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What else?
That's all I have.
Before we leave, I know you're standing up. The WA Foster, I understand that we need that building, that's fine. But I believe any money that's being used from the community block grant should come through council, and council should be voting on that.
Council did vote on it.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
She'll show you that we did. We voted on
They
it.
came to council and they stated this money is going to be allocated for the WA Foster. No, that didn't happen.
Antonio, we've been doing it for 3 or 4 years.
No, I remember initially, but no one came and said, we're going
It's
to
in
allocate
your
this."
budget every year. When you approve your budget, you
Yes.
approve it.
Yeah, I voted against it.
Well, then you voted against it, but it still got approved.
Yeah, but it does, we need to do something differently, because what's happening is we built that facility, and now money that should be allocated in the lower wealth communities are not being spent there.
Well, you don't think that paying the payment for the bill is not helping the low wealth community?
It's helping some, but it's other needs too. Like where we at with urgent repair right now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Urgent
that's
repair,
the goal for it.
there's nothing allocated for
But
that,
that's a
right?
state grant. That don't have anything to do with it, because that's a state grant that you use,
But that's
and
still,
they get it refilled or whatever, right? $100,000 that somebody can get up to
Nicole can
$10,000.
probably update you on that if you want to understand
Okay.
urgent repair.
Okay, that's
What
fine.
was the question?
that's fine.
We're passing on that right now, but at some point, the urgent repair funds, where you fix how many homes a year, 10 or 12?
Yes, we do 10 or 12 homes with our $100,000 that we get from North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. Right now, we finished the preliminary of the eligibility and final approval of these homes that we are going to be putting out for bid later on in the summer. We need to have our consultant who we hired out of Durham to do our work, scope of work and inspection, Triangle Construction Management, to go and visit each homeowner and give us an estimated cost. Once we have the estimated cost, we will know definitely how many homes we will be able to do. But we typically try to do no less than 10. But how we can extend that number is someone might need a roof and a handicap accessible bathroom, or let's say flooring. Well, what we would do is we would hit what is the most needed item so that we can utilize those extra funds to do another home. So that will be more information coming forth with that towards probably August. for us to bid out those homes. And then we'll know exactly how many homes we're going to be doing.
Thank you, Shaquille.
Mhm.
Anybody got anything else?
Yes. Catherine, where are we at with our audit right now?
Where we at with the audit, all I've been doing is working on budget. So I'll be coming forth come Monday night to ask for an extension to the end of August. If I can get this budget done in the next week and then get it set up, then I'll start working on it. Our contract employee is working forward, but there are some decisions that have to be made, and they have to be made at my level, and I just have to have time to work on it, so.
What was your question? I'm sorry.
Ask where we were at on the audit,
What ordinance?
our audit.
The audit.
Audit for 19,
Auditor.
yeah,
Yeah.
Got you now, okay.
yeah.
And
So I'm working as hard as I can to
Okay.
get it done, so.
Okay, because I know that we didn't allocate anything for budgeting for our forensic audit. That's something that council in October of 2019, we voted and we approved the audit. Now more than ever, I feel like we need a forensic audit. We saw what happened with the school board. We saw that the money has been mismanaged. I'm not saying anything regarding you. You just got here, Catherine. I think you're doing a super job. But I think in order to protect ourselves and protect the council even, you know, I wouldn't want to be a school board member right now. So, you know, just to protect the citizens and also transparency in regard to council, I think we need to go forward regarding that. And I think that we need to place something in the budget for a forensic audit. And
Didn't we have a presentation on that?
You had a presentation, but you never voted to do a forensic audit, to my knowledge. So,
Well, I thought we
and
actually
we were
voted
briefed
not
that
to do
the
it.
cost might be $500,000 or something.
Well, it depends on
on
what.
how deep you go
your
into
scope.
what.
Yeah,
We're not
you
gonna
have
do
to
it.
scope.
I thought we had voted not to do it, but maybe I'm wrong.
no, we never voted not to do anything. I mean,
Remember, Melissa,
and
we'll have to go back and look at it.
we never voted on anything.
Okay.
I don't know why we're so fearful to do it.
I don't think it's fearful, I think it's the amount of money.
It's not about, we don't even know the amount of money. I mean, we can
Yeah,
pinpoint.
we know, we got an idea.
Well, we can pinpoint certain areas. We can pinpoint certain areas.
How much is your
and
audit
cut it
costing
down.
right now, the annual?
Well, it's about 50, and it, you know, it is a financial statement, not a forensic, so you have to have scope of work, so.
You gotta have wrongdoing before you have a forensic audit.
No, you don't know if anything is done wrong or not. The school board didn't know.
Very true. Anything else?
I did find out one thing, the question about the grant for the fire department, about the ATV, they did submit a grant, it was denied, so I just wanted to put that out there before we close.
So your plug is you'd like to see a ATV for the fire department?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, I mean, so where we stand, who doesn't want the forensic audit?
I don't want it, for one.
I don't want it because we don't have wrongdoing.
It's just a waste of money.
It's a waste of money.
Why is it a waste of money?
Because we don't have any reason to think there's been any wrongdoing.
Well, sure we do.
Okay. Well, you do, I don't.
Well, sure we do, because we have
Tell
a finance.
if you can get formal
Let
ways
me,
to do it, that's fine.
let me finish speaking, sir. You're getting irritated, and I'm just responding to something that would help this community. We have a finance director who stated some of our departments are a mess. That's just the truth. She's said it to all of us. That should concern you as well as the rest of the council. So I make a motion that we follow through with what we voted for before elections, that we start this forensic audit. This is necessary.
We got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Whoa, we will not rush this. Let's not rush it. I mean, I sat quiet because money and finances, I'm the new kid on the block. And I've got 3 more years to sit on this board. And personally, I would like to ensure that we don't have anything to worry worried about, because you guys don't know. What's happening with our school board system is terrible, it's devastating. And we could very well be in that same position, and I don't trust the fact that just a couple of us don't think that, I mean, we had an expert, our director, tell us that there are, like Councilmember Williams said, there are some departments that are messy. And I don't think it would hurt. We also learned in our forensic audit presentation that it depends on our scope. So we don't have to look at this huge dollar amount. It depends on what do we want to specifically audit, and then a dollar amount is going to be attached to whatever scope we choose. And I don't think this is something that we should just, especially now, I don't think it's something that we should just rush, and I think it's something we should strongly consider. We don't know the dollar amount yet, so while we're throwing around this outlandish number, we don't know. We don't know.
I'm gonna wait till Catherine finishes her off.
Well, we got a motion and a second, so we're gonna have to take a vote. Does anybody have any other comments? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. 3. All those opposed, raise your right hand. Mr. Aycock, are you on the phone?
I oppose.
Okay, so you get us a 4-3 vote.
Now, we're sure he can vote, because that was the issue once. I just want to make sure he's clear to vote since he's on the phone.
Y'all pass the procedure, y'all allow them to vote.
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure.
All right, so I just want to clarify that we were going through elections, and all of these gentlemen here, with the exception of Mr. Pollock and Ms. Matthews, showed the community they wanted to show transparency with the forensic audit. Now, you have changed that you're in office.
We have not.
I don't
That's
think
the way your statement.
Nobody
that's
has
not
ever
what was
said anything about being in favor of forensic audit.
You voted for it.
I did not vote for it. I absolutely did not vote for it. But I think that the answer, most of the answer is let Catherine get her in here and get going. If you hire the other accounting person that she wants, if we hire this procurement person, and I think that'll help a lot of stuff.
So I'm just, protecting myself. The citizens know now that I wanted it and you guys didn't want it.
Anybody got anything else? All right, we need a motion to adjourn. I don't guess we need a motion. I guess I can just adjourn us, can I? We stand adjourned. Thank you for coming.